Attached with that email with the recording, we'll have a questionnaire. We just ask that you take the time to fill that questionnaire out. Should take you no more than 2 minutes. It's about 5 questions long, and we're just seeking feedback as far as the overall presentation. But obviously, you all probably want that recording to go back and reference anything that's covered today. Everybody is set up where they're on mute. We are going to have a designated Q&A at the end of the presentation. You can either take yourself off of mute during that time, or you can use the chat feature. So you have those capabilities to be able to post into the chat or come off mute and ask your question. So from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass it off to Blake, and thank you all for attending today.
Thank you, RJ, for having us. As RJ already mentioned, my team here is going to be myself, Tara, and Dave, and we're here to talk about opportunities of employment at Walt Disney World Resort in Central Florida, as well as if you have some questions about the Walt Disney Company in general, we can try to answer some of those questions you may have as best as possible, but our team specifically works with recruitment for Walt Disney World out in Florida. So I will start off by just telling you guys a little bit about myself. My name, like I mentioned, is Blake. I'm a recruiter for our casting services team, which is responsible for hiring our hourly roles at Walt Disney World. I've been with Disney for about 5 years, and I started off my career in the parks, working in attractions, and through those 5 years, I grew through leadership opportunities at Disneyland out in California. And then post our reopening from COVID, I was able to move over into our recruitment teams. And I've been working my way through starting off as a casting coordinator and then joining our recruiter team about a year ago. So super excited to be here and talk to you guys all about those awesome opportunities and see where we can start your careers with Disney. I'll pass it off to Dave to introduce himself.
Yeah, hello everyone. Yes, my name is Dave. I'm also with Blake and Tara over at Casting Services at Walt Disney World, where our responsibility is hiring the entry-level hourly cast member roles throughout the theme parks, resorts, along with culinary, transportation, and security. I've been with the company for 14 years. I am originally from Indianapolis, Indiana. When I was going to IU, Indiana University, Disney came up and did a presentation on the college program, which really intrigued me because at the time I was working at Cedar Point for folks who are amusement park junkies over in Ohio. So I was working at Cedar Point during the summer, and I always knew that my career will end up in the hospitality theme park world. So when Disney came up to IU, I was pretty much hooked after their presentation. So I actually came down to Walt Disney World and did the college program, where I started off at the Kilimanjaro Safaris over at Disney's Animal Kingdom, driving the safari trucks. From there, I've been a server. I did private dining, which is the room service. So pretty much backing up that I decided to stay down in Florida, so I did not go back and finish my degree until a little bit later on. Until I realized I want to get into management. So I finished up online with the marketing degree, and then I got into the management internship. And for 12 out of the 14 years, I've been a leader in 3 out of the 4 theme parks, the water parks, all in park operations, and then had an opportunity to become a food and beverage manager over at Golden Oak, which if you don't know what Golden Oak is, it's a multi-million-dollar residential community on property, has about 300 multi-million-dollar homes. Got some B-list celebrities living in there, along with some professional athletes from the NBA and also the NFL. And then from there, I became a duty manager at Epcot in the water parks, then decided to work on my work-life balance and went over to the HR department to become a recruiter. So that's my story in a nutshell. So as you can see that, you don't have to just stick to one place. It's a great place, a land of opportunity if you want to switch around, try new things. Good thing is that you don't have to quit the company to do it. So that's some really cool experiences, but I really enjoy what I'm doing now. So that's my story, and I'll pass it on to Tara.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Tara. I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland. I've been with the company for the last 15 years. In those 15 years, I started with my college program back in the baking and pastry department. When my college program had ended, I came back for full time back to the parks because this is always somewhere where I wanted to be. At the time, there was nothing available in baking and pastry, so I actually got into a role called children's activities, which is like your pool parties, your campfire sing-alongs. I got trained as a lifeguard, and then later on was able to transfer back into a baking and pastry position. I learned that while being there, I still wanted to do something else. So I became a children's activities coordinator, worked at the Polynesian and the Grand Floridian for quite some time, and then got into our leadership casting call, where I was placed as a housekeeping manager. For the last 11 years, I've been a housekeeping manager at Saratoga Springs, and then moved up to our housekeeping process manager. So that was more of like HR, taking care of our cast schedules, time and pay. And now I have joined the recruiting team, so can hopefully help all of you find your next career.
Awesome. And I saw that someone in the chat said that they're starting their Disney college program next month. So congratulations. That's super exciting. As you can already hear, Dave and Tara both started their careers in the college program. I just started mine as a part-time out in California because I was living very close to Disneyland. So I didn't need to do the college program. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of career opportunities with us. And that kind of brings us on to our next topic here. So as we mentioned, we recruit for hourly roles at Walt Disney World Resort, but we also work underneath the umbrella of the Walt Disney Company. So our segment of the company includes Disney parks, experiences, and products. So that's Walt Disney World, Disneyland, our parks overseas like Paris, Shanghai Disney, Tokyo, the cruise line, Disney Vacation Club, Adventures by Disney, Walt Disney Imagineering, the Disney Store. So there's a lot of opportunities just within our own segment after you consider starting with us in an hourly role. And then if you decide that maybe the parks aren't where you want your career to be in the future, there's opportunities to move over to our streaming services like Disney Plus and Hulu and ESPN Plus, Hotstar for overseas, or maybe you wanted to get into the studio like Walt Disney Animations or film, Marvel, Lucas, Disney Theatrical Group for Broadway and New York, stage productions, stuff like that. And then lastly, our general entertainment content section, which is going to be like 20th Century Fox, FX, Hulu Originals, Disney branded television like the Disney Channel. So there's just a lot of opportunities for career within the Walt Disney Company. But the parks is a great way to get your foot in the door, to start learning the company culture, and to grow your career from there, and then truly grow into whatever your future might be with us. So on our next slide, Dave is going to talk to you a little bit about the roles that we have here at Walt Disney World.
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, as us hourly recruiters, we hire for the entry-level hourly roles between the theme parks, resorts, along with culinary, security, and transportation. So these are some of the popular positions we see on your screen there. So attractions is always a popular one. When I talk about culinary, so we do hire for servers, server assistants, host seaters, bartenders. We're also looking to quick service restaurants, which is like kind of like your fast food in the parks and resorts, and also over at the water parks and Disney Springs. We also hire for back of house. So if you're interested in being a line cook, or if you're looking into pastry or bakery, chef assistants, if you do have the enough experience to be a chef assistant, we also hire for those positions as well. And as I mentioned before, we do hire security, transportation. So that includes the monorail, Skyliner, bus transportation, watercraft, to list some of the few positions that we do hire for. But some of the ones that are a little more difficult for us to look into. So if you have an interest in housekeeping or lifeguard or bus transportation, those are some of the more difficult ones for us to hire for that we will love to have if you are interested in those type of areas. But like I said, we do have quite a few roles that we do hire for. So moving on to the next slide. One of the great things about working for Walt Disney World is, of course, is the benefits and perks. So you see there's quite a few. So one of the great things that we do get weekly pay. So every Thursday, we do get paid, which is fantastic. For the full-time cast members, there is a life insurance, which also includes dental and vision. We also have retirement programs, paid time off, sick, and also vacation for those full-time cast members. We also have tuition assistance, which I'll talk about here in a moment about the Disney Aspire program. One of my favorite perks is the wellness programs. So we have a lot of great benefits, actually things you can do to earn money for prescriptions, or if you need to go to spend extra money out of pocket, a copay or whatnot. There's a lot of programs where you can earn free money. One of the programs that I'm part of that I actually love about the wellness program is called Active and Fit. So for any of those out there that like to work out or weight lift like I do, I only pay $25, $26 a month where I have access to all the gyms in Central Florida. So I can tell you that I'm a member at CF Fitness, LA Fitness, YMCA, and Anytime Fitness. Of course, they all have different amenities, and plus I can also use those memberships around the country, so I have access to all those clubs. And like I said, it's a fantastic program to be a membership to all these gyms and only pay a small amount, which is only $25 a month. Moving on, we do have child care support, career development. Of course, one of the most important ones and popular ones, of course, is the theme park admission. So as a customer, you do get what's called a main gate, and that's pretty much your ticket to get into the theme parks for free. You also will start off with guest passes too, and this is for part-time and full-time, where you start off with 3 guest passes, where you can use that up to 16 times a year, getting friends and family into the parks. But besides of just using your main gate here in the parks in Florida, you also have access to go in for free at Disneyland out in California. Disneyland Paris for those who like to travel outside the country, also Disneyland Hong Kong, and also Shanghai. As I mentioned before, it's a really, really great benefit from, if you like to go and enjoy going to the parks. But like I said, it's a very popular one that I use quite frequently. Moving on is the exclusive discounts. So we do get a very nice discounts in the food and beverage throughout the resort. Merchandise also at the resorts, and as I love to do is travel, and one of the perks that I'm actually going to take advantage of this year is going to be the Disney Cruise Lines. So anyone who's like to cruise, we do get a really good discount on the Disney Cruise Lines. And also, besides of the discounts we get here at Walt Disney World, we also, as customers, get discounts throughout Central Florida outside of Walt Disney World as well. We also have community involvement. There's a lot to be very into volunteering. We have the volunteers who will pretty much have an event going on every week. If you look more into the community involvement, a lot of opportunity there. And then we also have commuter assistance. So going on to the next slide, I'll go ahead and touch base on the tuition assistance, which is the Disney Aspire program. So as you can see, about 100% tuition paid up front at network schools. Fees and books are also reimbursed. We do have 100 program and degree options from skill building to master's degrees. So I can tell you that, maybe if English is not your first language, or, someone else who's looking to join Walt Disney World and English not their first language, we do have English courses that we have. We also just started a culinary program through Disney Aspire. And we also have associate's degrees and also bachelor's degrees and master's degrees. There's a lot of programs to choose from. Moving on, you see there's coaching along the way to help you succeed and flexible online courses so you can study when it works for you. Now, the only requirement to be part of Disney Aspire, this fantastic program, is you only got to be part-time or full-time hourly. And then once you pass your probation period, which is 90 days, then you can apply for Disney Aspire. I forgot to mention before that if you are looking for a full-time, part-time role, the requirements are for part-time, you have to have 3 days of full availability, which you have to be available morning, afternoon, and also at night. And then for full-time, you have to start off with 7 days with full availability. But Disney Aspire program, like I said, is a fantastic program. Mostly all of the programs are online. However, if you do live here in Florida, we do partner with UCF and Valencia, where some of the programs they offer, you can take in-person classes as well. And then lastly, if you are looking to apply, this is the QR codes. So as you look there, there's a part-time, full-time, hourly opportunity. So pretty much how this works, if you scan that QR code, if you're interested in applying for a part-time or full-time role, it will take you to an interest form. So you fill out the interest form and let us know what you're interested in doing at Walt Disney World. And then as soon as you fill out the interest form, you will get a link sent to your email application to apply. And then once you apply through that application, that link in the email that you are sent, it will hit our database and actually will contact you to set up an interview. And one thing I want to touch base with the interview, yes, we call it an interview, but really since we hire so many different positions, we just like to have a conversation with you to see what your interests are and figure out what you want to do here at Walt Disney World, and kind of give you the details on the areas that you're interested in, and kind of direct you and help you to guide your way to become an official cast member in the area that you want to go into. Now, on the other side of the screen, do you see the seasonal opportunities? So you're more welcome to scan that QR code if you're looking for a seasonal opportunity. Now, these don't come often. Usually we'll look for seasonal around the summer and also sometimes through the holidays. But with this QR code, you will scan it and it will take you, put you in our database. So once we do have seasonal opportunities come available, you will receive an email letting you know if you want to apply for those seasonal opportunities or not. And for those who are interested in the internships here at Walt Disney World, whether it's the college program, the professional internship, or the hospitality leadership program, you see there's the website below to check out all those opportunities as well.
And then I will say, if you don't have the chance to scan the codes now, this slide will come back at the end, so you'll have the opportunity to scan them at the end once more. So once, as Dave mentioned, once you scan that QR code, you're going to get sent an email that will actually have you apply for the positions. And before we have that conversation with you about what you might be interested in, you do have to complete what we call the web-based interview. The web-based interview is a 30-minute timed interview. We always recommend that you do it on a laptop or a desktop on your phones or tablets like iPads. It can get a little clunky, or the timer might get messed up, or Windows might not open the way that they're supposed to. So we always recommend to do it on a laptop or a desktop. And there are some roles that don't require this web-based interview. These are going to be roles like housekeeping, stewards, dishwashing in our kitchens, more of the back of house roles rather than the roles that are interacting with our guests on a day-to-day basis. If you do apply with us and you choose and you get to the step of participating in the web-based interview, we always also like to give you guys the reminder that here at the Walt Disney Company, we have very strong opinions. So whether you strongly agree or strongly disagree, we always just want to make sure that we're answering the questions to what you believe in strongly the most. And then a couple of cool things that happen at Disney is the Reimagine Tomorrow program. So Reimagine Tomorrow is about our company coming together to find ways to amplify underrepresented voices and untold stories, as well as championing the importance of accurate representation in media and entertainment, because we are all greater than a single story and we all deserve to feel seen, heard, and understood. So our Reimagine Tomorrow series is actually something that if you're interested in learning more about what the Walt Disney Company is doing, this is open to everybody. You don't have to be an employee of the Walt Disney Company. You can visit our Reimagine Tomorrow website. It's just as simple as that, reimaginetomorrow.com. And on the Reimagine Tomorrow site, you can actually go in and watch some of our keynote speakers from within the company and outside the company talk about the impact of the storytelling that the Walt Disney Company has done on their lives and where we can go in the future to make sure that we are inclusive and that everybody feels seen and heard in our content that we have across our parks, movies, streaming services, music groups, and everything that we operate. And then here at Walt Disney World, we want to make sure that we create a workplace where everyone feels welcome. So we'll never stop working to make sure that Disney is a welcoming workplace for all, with flexibility surrounding forms of personal expression such as gender inclusive hairstyles, jewelry, nail styles, costume choices, and appropriate visible tattoos. Our cast members are empowered to express their culture and individuality at work. So some of you may have had previous family members that might have worked at Disney before. You might have had friends, or you might have just heard of what has always been known as the Disney look. And this is our policy for our hourly cast members who work with us here at Walt Disney World or Disneyland Paris or Disneyland in California. To have a unified look all across our different parks and resorts. And in the more recent years, we've kind of allowed for more personal expression. So we've opened it up and we've added those things like appropriate tattoos can now be shown while at work, which weren't allowed in the past. Hairstyles can now be more inclusive. Jewelry can now be worn by all genders. All genders can now paint their nails. So it's definitely steps in the right direction to making sure that everybody feels like they can represent their true self while at work. So that kind of wraps up everything that we have to talk about at Walt Disney World for today. We are going to open it up for questions here in just a moment, and I'll bring back those QR codes to scan if you're interested. But we just wanted to thank you guys for your time of listening to what the possibilities are of working here at Walt Disney World. And then we'll go ahead and open the floor for any questions that you guys might have for us. And then just a reminder for the QR codes, the one that is going to be for the part-time and full-time hourly opportunities, that is going to be a majority of our roles across the Walt Disney World Resort. That is going to allow you to get that application sent to your email. And then the seasonal hourly opportunities is more of a database that we'll go ahead and contact you if and when we have any of those seasonal postings open up. Some things like lifeguards and stuff over the summer. I see a lot of questions, and I saw these coming up throughout the presentation about remote work. Here at Walt Disney World and the team that Dave, Tara, and myself recruit for, we do not recruit for those roles, unfortunately. So you'll want to visit the disneycareers.com website. That's going to show you the opportunities for remote work, work in cybersecurity. I saw that someone mentioned accounting. You would also find those roles there too. Now, we always like to talk about the competitiveness of these roles and the way that an hourly opportunity in the parks, maybe if it is just something over the summer or it's part-time, if you're able to and you live near Central Florida or you live out near California, is we are a promote from within company. So Disney really prides itself on promoting from our hourly roles into those professional accounting roles, into those cybersecurity roles, once you really get that understanding of what the company culture is and how we operate as a whole. So these are the positions that we recruit for, are just great ways to get your foot in the door. And then once you start working with us and you finish school or you're ready for that professional internship opportunity, we actually have an internal application system where we have jobs for our employees internally that sometimes don't even get posted externally. So you kind of get that inside edge on your dream role with us at Disney. I can answer that from my side. I have been very fortunate enough where I grew up in a family where Disney just has always been part of my life. My dad has worked at Walt Disney Animation Studios since I was a little kid, so I've always wanted to work for Disney, but I fell in love with the parks as a child early on, so I always knew that I wanted to be part of the parks and the operations. And what's just kept me here is the constant chance to continue to do more and more things. When I went to school, I started off going to school for engineering, realized that wasn't where my passion was, and then I changed to business, and then I never really saw myself in an HR role, but then I started talking to someone who was a recruiter for Disneyland, and I was like, that sounds really cool, I want to get into that. So what keeps you at Disney is you can find that role or career that maybe you didn't think was something you wanted to do or didn't even think existed. And that's something that's really cool about working for a company that's so large. And then I can't see the chat, so I don't know if you guys can see those questions as they're coming in. I just see the ones that pop up on my screen.
I'm gonna read it out if anything. So the question in the chat was, what has kept you at Walt Disney World, and is the experience you have gained here something you believe is unique to Walt Disney World? So kind of going like what Blake said, right? The ability to be able to move around very easily. And I mean, of course, there's a lot of networking, of course, involved. But just to have those options available where you may see a posting and you think, you know, do I want to try that? And just being able to go for it. And then there's been opportunities where you try something, you know, and you're like, you know what, this really isn't the best for me. You have that ability to go back to your previous role within a certain amount of time. So that's always something really good as well, just to kind of dip your toes in. I can also say what's kept me at Walt Disney World is our benefits. As a single parent, right, childcare is extremely expensive. And to be able to have our 2 YMCAs that are on property open from about 6 in the morning to 11 o'clock at night, not a lot of daycares and whatnot do that. So I can definitely tell you it's been a nice blessing to have and to have available to me. That way I can still move forward in my career, but then still make sure that my personal and home life are taken care of as well.
Yeah, and to piggyback off of Tara, yeah, I totally agree. As I mentioned before, I feel like this is the pretty much a land of opportunity. Like I said, I've been here for 14 years and I've had many different experiences. So if you looking to make Disney a career, like Tara said, you know, you can pretty much kind of mingle, kind of network, get familiar with other areas they might be interested in because Disney World is so big. There's been so many positions that I've seen that I didn't even think that it was possible with some of these positions that I didn't even heard of. For example, me being in this position right now as a recruiter, if you would ask me a year ago, I'd probably say no, but the opportunity came up and I found it very, very interesting after reading the posting, so I applied for it. But you know, like I mentioned before, I've worked in all the theme parks and also the water parks and also over at Golden Oak. But I've had people who work for me who recently, the most recent success story is I had a coordinator as a lifeguard over at the water parks, having a communications degree, and through her networking, now she had moved up to Connecticut and she's working in broadcasting for ESPN. So I've seen people work their way up into other areas outside of Walt Disney World, going over to, like I mentioned before, ESPN or over at the Disney Cruise Lines, going over to Adventures by Disney. So there's a lot of opportunity depending how you want to navigate your career here at Walt Disney World. So you can't just think it's just the theme parks down here. So I've seen many people go different routes, which I think is fantastic. And it's one reason why keeping me here at Walt Disney World, also to the benefits as well. But me a little bit more selfish when it comes to the discounts with the cruise lines and also the free admission going to the theme parks, checking out the festivals, and also going out to Hong Kong and Paris as well.
So
Awesome.
the next question in the chat was, are there any Disney jobs outside of California and Florida?
So as I mentioned, our team here today is specifically to recruit for hourly positions at Walt Disney World. But yeah, for professional wise, if you start off with us here at the parks and want to develop your career, whether it's through an hourly role or the Disney College program, I know our advertising sales team is based out of New York. They have an office in Chicago as well as Santa Monica in California. Dave just mentioned ESPN is out in Connecticut. So it might not be directly Disney, but it could be one of those brands that we mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, like Hulu or FX, ESPN, stuff like that. There are definitely roles throughout the states underneath the umbrella of the Walt Disney Company. It's like we mentioned, it's quite a large company, but our roles are specifically going to be based in Florida.
Next question, would I be able to continue my studies at WGU and after completion apply for Disney Aspire, or is it possible to do both?
Disney Aspire is for network schools, so it does have to be within one of the schools that's part of the Disney Aspire network. I don't think WGU is right now, but we add schools almost every year, so it could be in the future. As for the continuing your studies, if you get a degree at WGU, you can absolutely get another degree through the Disney Aspire program. I have a friend who has gotten a bachelor's through the Disney Aspire program, and now she's working on her master's through the Disney Aspire program. So the opportunities are there to continue and get additional degrees if you're interested, or certifications. If possible to do both at the same time would all depend on what program or degree that you're applying for. If that program or degree requires you to have already completed your bachelor's degree, then you would have to wait until your studies are completed to continue. But that would be something that you would have a further conversation with your Disney Aspire coach about. They'll be able to walk you through that. They're a great team. They're small but mighty. They're some of the best campus coaches that there are out there.
Perfect. Next question. I've heard rumor that Disney tends to not call applicants who live outside of the Central Florida area for full-time corporate positions. Is this true? I can definitely tell you from my experience that we have applicants from all over, different states across the United States, sometimes even from different countries that apply for our hourly positions. So we are looking for, representatives from other states, but of course, you would need to obviously move to Central Florida since our hourly positions are something that are local. So you would need to make sure that you're here locally for those hourly positions.
So just if you are looking to apply for a part-time, full-time role and you're currently outside of Central Florida, outside of Florida itself, just keep in mind that when you do apply, your application is only active for 6 months. Meaning that you will have to accept the position here at Walt Disney World within that 6 months, otherwise you will have to reapply again. And if you do apply, also too, just a little tip, that if you do apply, go through the interview process, and we do find a position for you, you do have 30 days to start that position if we do find a position for you. So just a little tidbit if you are looking to apply part-time, full-time, you're outside the Central Florida area.
All right, the last one we have in the chat right now is, do you have any interview tips for candidates looking to start a career at Disney?
Well, that's pretty simple. I mean, it's just Walt Disney World. So, you know, with the entry-level hourly roles, we're looking for pretty much your passion. One of the questions, and give me a little bit of another tip here during an interview that I like to do is ask you, why do you want to work for Walt Disney World? I've heard many different answers to that question, but it's one thing to kind of give me an idea where your mindset is as far as if you're going to be a right fit working at Walt Disney, depending, of course, what position you're applying for. But the only tip I really pretty much have is just come in with the interest that you want. What do you want to do at Disney? Come in with the passion that you do want to work for people, because you got to keep in mind at Walt Disney World, we deal with, especially if you're working in a guest facing role, we deal with people from around the world, many different cultures. So you just got to keep that in mind. So if you're most definitely looking for a guest facing role, is just your interest in working with people. But yeah, pretty much it is just showcasing your personality and your passion just to want to work at Walt Disney World is pretty much the main tip that I have for you when it comes to interviewing for an hourly role. If Tara or Blake want to chime in and add on any extra tips on the interview.
Also just say, right, just having that positive attitude. You definitely want to go in with the correct mindset of, what you're applying for. So, facial expression, and you definitely want to be able to feel it, right? I mean, we're a company that, we make people feel, and that's what we kind of want our cast members to have, right? We want to making sure that we're making those connections with our guest. So definitely some excitement and some positivity, of course.
Yeah, I echo both what Dave and Tara said. And then I know a lot of us are college students, so we might be looking for internship opportunities. I know a lot of people brought up cybersecurity and accounting and things like that. And while our team specifically recruits for Walt Disney World, we are all the Walt Disney companies, so we want to make sure that our other partners are set up for success too. So I can give some tips on the resumes for our internships. Our internships for college students are very, very competitive. They see lots and lots of applicants every internship recruiting season. So in touching base with our internship recruiters, they always make sure that your resume is tailored to their specific internship, that you're using keywords from the job descriptions, and definitely make sure that you meet all of those basic qualifications. If you've ever seen one of our applications, it's separated by job description, basic qualifications, and preferred qualifications. You'll want to make sure that your resume reflects everything underneath the basic qualifications, that they can find those words on your resume somewhere. That way you have a better opportunity of moving through those resume reviews and stuff that the recruiters take for those internship opportunities. But for working for Walt Disney World, we definitely look for that charismatic personality, that excitement to be here, and that passion for Disney. I did see, I got one question about entertainment opportunities at Walt Disney World. Our entertainment opportunities are casted by our entertainment team. You'll want to visit the DisneyAuditions.com website. So that's DisneyAuditions.com. They'll have all of the postings there for any entertainment positions we might be hiring for, as well as the where the auditions take place. Sometimes they're in Central Florida, sometimes they're in California. I think we're now just starting to get back into possibly doing some other spots across the US for entertainment auditions as well. And then I know we mentioned the Disney College program earlier. They just announced about a week or so ago that they're bringing back entertainment opportunities for Disney College program students. So that's the internship opportunity for that as well. And you'll find all of that information either on DisneyAuditions.com or DisneyPrograms.com. And there was another question about the entertainment roles. The entertainment roles postings on that DisneyAuditions.com website will let you know exactly what they're looking for when it comes to like height or anything like that. So you'll just want to check out those postings and see if you match anything that they're looking for on that website. And then someone asked about registered nurses. We do have registered nurses here on property at Walt Disney World, and they have a small but mighty team at the Disneyland Resort as well. I don't think we're currently recruiting for registered nurses positions. I know I mentioned earlier in the presentation that we do have those internal postings that we post for our cast members before we post them externally. I know there's a lot of folks that have their RNs or that already work for the company, and they typically apply for those, so it doesn't go external too often. So that's one of those things, like we mentioned earlier, getting one of those hourly roles with us gets your foot in the door for those kind of opportunities. Any other questions anybody might have? Awesome. Well, thank you guys for coming out and listening to us talk about our opportunities here at Walt Disney World today. I know that I am on LinkedIn, and you guys are welcome to connect with me there. It's just my first and last name, and we can chat further about any opportunities that you might have or any questions. But yeah, thanks for coming and listening to us, and good luck with the rest of your day. Everybody gets a little bit of time back, which is always nice. And Tara, Dave, do you have any final things you want to say?
No, just thank you for letting us to speak and sharing the time with you guys. I know you're all pretty busy in your day to day, but thank you for joining us. And hopefully, later down the line, if you guys want to come and join the family down here at Walt Disney World, we're open arms. Have a great day, guys.
For business.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Reminder that this session was recorded, so we will be sending that out to you all probably by tomorrow. But thank you again to our friends at Disney for joining us and presenting today. Have a great rest of the day, everyone.